Right now, the C3 Solutions of Vice President of Public Policy. Nick, if we have to get used to this sort of thing going on at the airlines for a few years, and we have to get used to this auto shortage that produces these delays in getting cars, if you can get them at all, I would imagine that that's something that the consumers are not going to like. They're getting used to it, but I don't think they're prepared for this to last that long. What do you think?
Yeah, no, not at all. And unfortunately, it seems as it's here to stay for at least a little while yet. And those are big purchases when you talk about buying an airline ticket for a summer vacation, especially for a family. You talk about an investment in a new vehicle. But consumers and households are also getting hammered on a daily basis because diesel prices sit at $5.74 per gallon. And if you think about transporting goods across the country by cargo and by freight, and also by truck, obviously, these costs are getting passed on to the consumers. So they're getting hit at the grocery store, at the Home Depot, and nearly for everything that they pay for on a daily basis, too.
Now, there are a lot of people who think, all right, this is the 70s all over again. I personally, having lived through that period, I don't think it is. It could be down the road. I don't think it's there yet because the underlying economy, consumer demand, is still relatively strong. And even with dipping under 400,000 new workers in the latest employment report, we're still averaging 400,000 or better, better than a year now. So that is slowing down, no doubt. But again, the backdrop is a little different. Now, the issue then becomes when this backdrop changes and how dramatically it changes. Do you think that it is going to get such to a point where prices get so high, people just stop buying?
I do. I mean, there's the economic theory of demand destruction where people will reach a critical point, a price point where it's just too expensive for them to purchase certain things and go out and travel as much as they normally would, especially during the summertime when they're traveling for vacation. So I think partly that will be demand destruction as prices continue to increase, and it's going to have to wait for increased supply to catch up with that higher consumption that we've seen even throughout the pandemic. So that in and of itself is going to take time, and we still have all of these supply chain bottlenecks. We've seen a lot of refining capacity shut down over the past few years, and so there are still a number of bottlenecks that even as we continue to increase crude oil production and become the world's leader, even more so in crude production, it's still going to take some time for those prices to adjust.
But the administration does seem to send mixed signals on this very issue, Nick. And I guess the latest example today, when the president tweeted he wants to look into shipping costs and why some companies have seized on dramatically upping those costs to stick it to the consumer. I'm paraphrasing here. But it's yet another villain, as the oil companies are behind gouging Americans to stick it to them at the pump. And, food companies are, gouging them at the grocery store. What do you think of all of this?
Yeah, I think it's frustrating and disingenuous. If big oil and shipping companies could control the price of these goods, why wouldn't they keep them at these prices on the long haul? Oil companies didn't really do a whole lot when prices dropped down to $35 per barrel. So these are, again, driven by supply and demand, as your previous reporter mentioned. And so blaming companies who are trying to do everything they can to increase supplies, to reduce these supply chain bottlenecks and provide affordable goods and affordable energy to consumers and businesses is disingenuous. And when we talk about increasing supply, we need to talk about sending the right signal that if you're making an investment in new exploration and development or a pipeline or a refining, that's not going to be regulated out of existence if they make those investments. So the policy and regulatory uncertainty that a lot of these businesses facing is all the more chilling investment at a time when we desperately need it for new energy supplies.
We'll watch closely. Nick Lawrence, thank you. C3 Solutions. Following all of that.